Welcome to The Agenda.
We're in England. Today on The Agenda, we're going to talk all about it.
What's on the agenda today?
What agenda?
2030 agenda.
What's their ultimate agenda?
Is there an agenda?
Global agenda.
It's run by people with agendas.
It's crunch time in this whole agenda.
Everybody has an agenda.
With all the current issues on our agenda.
It's my agenda for you.
Courtesy of those people and their agenda.
What really sets the agenda?
What's number one on our agenda?
So, what's on the agenda for today?
The next subject on the agenda.
Welcome to The Agenda. I'm your host, Edward Zom, here with Jesse Beltran and Matthew Hazen. You know, it's funny, both you two, I've heard so many people butcher your name. It's funny. We've been spending a lot of time together because we're working on Died Suddenly 2 Nanosapiens. But also, we're doing studies. We're traveling around to places that we can't tell you about. But we are getting to absorb and analyze a lot of information together. And of course, over the course of this time that we've been together, there's been major advances in at least the disclosure of technology related to 5G, 6G, wireless transmitting weaponry, sonic weapons, discombobulators. But before we get into it, if the audience is not familiar with you, because they haven't yet seen the secret footage that we haven't released to you, Jesse, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and also then I'll show you Matt.
My name is Jesse Beltran. I'm currently the president of an organization that hosts MindNexusLive.com. And what we do is we travel the world helping people who are experiencing symptoms of anomalous health incidences or Havana Syndrome, which is a frequency-based phenomenon that is happening. I'm also certified in technical counter-surveillance measures, and my background is in technology. I used to own the third largest ISP in the state of California, which was involved in direct line-of-sight microwave transmissions for high-speed data.
Wow, that's very impressive. I mean, you have quite a background. I think it's why people take you so seriously.
Yeah.
Matthew, I'm sorry you had to follow that up, but who are you, Matthew?
My name is Matthew Hazen. I'm founder of a company called Human Consciousness Support. I think what we are best known for is being the company who has done the first and unfortunately only studies to date testing levels of extreme harmful chemicals that are very well known to be putting now into things like the COVID vaccines, and we're finding testing levels of graphene oxide, hydrogel, microplastics, things like that, and looking for solutions to dealing with those type of things, because just like with the weapons we're going to be discussing today, a lot of this hinges on the amount of toxicity that is inside of our bodies, and especially the nefarious toxicity.
And we'll start there, because of course, when people think about this technology, everyone in the world was given a small education about 2 weeks ago when the United States attacked Venezuela. Now, since then, there's a lot of information that's been floating around. Jesse, you'd heard that the targeting that was applied by our special forces, our Delta Force, involved honing in on substances that were inside of some of the Cuban and Venezuelan soldiers.
Yeah, what my sources have told me is that a multitude of smart munitions were used in that attack. And it basically what they were describing is you had drone technology, which was satellite based, which was honing in on your targets. You had these super soldiers who they say were almost not human and had the capability of hitting their targets, firing their weapons at over 300, they said, rounds per minute, and being 100% accurate. And this was a complete system, is what I was being told, and they used it with acoustic waves, which basically made the enemy, in their eyes, incapacitated, the bloody noses, bleeding from the mouth, from the rectum, and they were just unable to fire their weapons. And we were able to do this with such precision that it hasn't been seen in ever. This is the era that we're in, and this is kind of ties into the background and the phenomenon that I've been researching with Havana Syndrome, which was afflicted initially to our U.S. diplomats in Havana, Cuba. They were being sent some type of wave that was causing physiological deficits in them.
Well, certainly, and you know, this topic is an interesting one to talk with Matthew, because Matthew probably is the more libertarian amongst us. I mean, we're pretty libertarian. We're patriots, we're freedom fighters, these other things, but Matthew, I think, we're probably the more libertarian among us. And why I bring that up is you think about the topic of Havana Syndrome, and even the targeting that you've endured, and others, you know, like Dom and others that you've met. There's a little bit in you that wants to, you know, hold the people that are doing it accountable, right? You want to find the people that are doing it, and you want them to stop, and you want them to be held to account if they've committed harm, which they certainly have. People have lost jobs. People have killed themselves.
Yes,
in this way.
Absolutely.
So when we were talking about from the geopolitical standpoint, Matt, a lot of these attacks would be, if it was another country, if it wasn't our own country doing it to us, let's say we don't know who's doing this, if there's another country, we would consider these terror attacks. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and I've been covering this phenomenon since 2010, and we've always said that this was electronic terrorism.
Electronic terrorism.
Yeah.
So Matt, I mean, you're the kind of guy, we're never going to war. If Matt becomes president, hallelujah, it's going to be years of peace, okay? So knowing this, that someone is responsible for these kind of targets, and of course the weaponry that's being deployed now, you don't even have to see the people that you are shooting and hurting and these other things. If it was China, would you support us going to war with them?
Yeah, I would. If it was a direct attack, because it's at that point self-defense. And, you know, what the Havana Syndrome has taught us, it was a phenomenon that first started happening to our diplomats. And then it started happening to the best of our best of different agencies and so forth. And now it's happening to the people, and it's happening all around the world. So who's ever responsible for this, and now we're looking at all these wars coinciding with that point that are moving much more towards like AI versus soldier instead of soldier versus soldier, you know, super soldier. Maybe we could kind of use the term interchangeably cyborg, which is kind of like moving over towards AI. So now we're looking at an AI-driven attack versus civilian, military, and everything. So this is something that does need to be dealt with.
Well, and I think Jess would agree with me here. Thank God they're not more sophisticated yet, right? Can you imagine if they had applied maybe some extensive our imagination with artificial intelligence to some of these? It is, of course, not that it's not sophisticated. I'm meaning to say that imagine if they refined it further in the manners that maybe Matt is talking about with AI.
Well, I hate to tell you
that you're going to spoil my day here.
that it is more sophisticated than that. And over my years of experience in investigating this phenomenon, we know that there is an aspect of AI that's integrated with this system. And it's far more complex than the general population even knows. Just imagine the reason that the best of the FBI, CIA, and congressional members are compromised is because the ability to keep national secrets has been compromised through this. Just imagine if your thoughts were no longer private. And that is really where we're at with this type of technology.
Well, and I think a lot of folks are trying to get their heads around this new paradigm.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to think of Mark Zuckerberg or some billionaires attending Davos, having access to our thoughts and using that to create a new product, monetize us, or maybe be creepy and spy on us, right? It's a whole new playing field if a country is doing it. And it certainly appears as if every country is vying for the very technology that was deployed in Venezuela. I mean, there's a reason why President Trump brought it up during his speech at the World Economic Forum. It wasn't just a brag. It's also a warning to every country that's paying attention. Every country was paying attention. But see, it's not just sonic attacks or the discombobulation weaponry or jamming. There was even the oddities of weather weapons, which were brought up this week. I mean, We're about to travel from the United Kingdom back to the once free, or maybe soon to be free again, hopefully, America. And most of the country is going to be frozen. And for both of you too, hopefully your flights are okay. I'm lucky, I'm in Florida. That's the one time Florida's good. But the point is, at the World Economic Forum, I want to share this clip. There was an infiltration by James O'Keefe. Right? And people have a lot of opinions about James O'Keefe. We're going to hold him for just a second. Let's just say that this appeared to be a genuine encounter. James O'Keefe came before the meetings began, Jesse. I'm not sure you've seen this clip. And he was able to get into a couple of meetings with officials from BlackRock and a couple investment firms. And they're openly talking about cloud seeding, about changing the weather patterns, investing for different climates and different summers, different winters. And every time we get a crazy storm like what America's experiencing, I think it's a good part of the world actually will be under some form of ice or snow from this. We always have to ponder, is this man-made? Is this something that God sent, or is this something that has been made tremendously worse from weather weaponry? I'm going to play this clip, and I want to get your opinions on weather weapons.
So right behind me is the Coast Hotel. I'm going to go in there.
Laser light comms and dark matter. That company, do you have that company in your portfolio that does artificial rain? There might be people around you that would be alleged to have an inclination to do that.
God black rock behind us.
Put sulfur dioxide there is actually a pretty cheap way to cool down the earth.
Oh yeah.
So
Let's say I don't want aluminum oxides in my lettuce. Are you kidding me? A cocktail from hell that they're spreading above our heads.
Yes.
You guys work with carbon taxes at all?
We are one of the largest climate accelerators for the
So look, that's James O'Keefe. I know he's hard to recognize. He's always in some bloody disguise. But big deal when he got there. It's not a conspiracy. It seems like nothing's a conspiracy, by the way. You both have made me somewhat a believer. I'm starting to think, I don't know where my line is anymore. If you were to tell me, Jesse, that aliens exist and they're walking amongst us, I'm probably going to believe you, okay? But what do you think about this weapon weaponry that's being spoken about?
Well, technology in and of itself isn't good or bad. It's the people in charge of the technology and their motives. Terraforming, in many ways, could be used in a good way. But if you wanted the ultimate weapon of plausible deniability, being able to manipulate Mother Nature in a way that most people would conceive as being natural, that would be the pinnacle of a weapon. And I know you talked about living in Florida, but there is data, and there are some experts that's coming out and saying that these unusual approaches and these weather patterns that have been hitting you lately, or most recently, were not natural. And
started with hurricanes.
Yeah, with the hurricanes. And then we have this sudden ice sheet that's never been seen before in the United States, which really is blanketing the majority of the United States, is highly, highly unusual. And so one would have to wonder, is this what we're witnessing before our very eyes?
Oh, certainly. You've read about weather weapons.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the big point that needs to be clear is that they're obviously not being ran by people that have the best interest, because if you could easily make sure that there was never a drought and that the farm crops always had a great season. But instead, we're seeing fires that are completely unnatural, mowing down cities in order to build back whatever they want. We're seeing hurricanes that are stopping on islands, level 5, sitting there for a while. So, we're running into the dilemma of allowing people who will allow death to happen in order for their profit.
And that's the aspect of this paradigm, is that, of course, there are individuals that are going to wield some of this technology, maybe even by themselves. I mean, people like Elon Musk, they hold such power in their hands. This past month, we saw an attempted revolution in Iran. It looks, at least for now, that revolution has failed. The government there has kept control. But one man, and obviously backed by the U.S. government, but one man was able to deploy internet over the entire country. That the government of Iran said, They wanted a blackout. They didn't want people posting on social media, protest sites, or scenes of immense violence. And Elon Musk came in and deployed low Earth orbiting satellites to provide Starlink coverage. But counter to this is that obviously countries have the same and maybe even greater capabilities than individuals like Elon Musk. And that's kind of the direction I want to kind of to branch into, because partly of what you've published, I believe you've published this. I'm not even going to say it just to make sure I don't say it out loud if it is not. But it appears countries are really spending large amounts of resources and time to develop out these matrices of control, whether it be through the targeting, whether it be through digital footprints, and whether it be through even technologies which will control what we can buy, sell, and where we can go. Now we talk about geoengineering, that limits our travel. And we talk about just basic interference with sound weaponry and sonic weapons and satellite deployed weaponry. That interferes with our ability to think. But even with the aspect of this statecraft, Jesse, when it comes to countries, I think during the Cold War, both of you were growing up during that time. Not to date you, but the Russians were evil, right? That's what we were told. The Chinese were no greater, and the West was all unified. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore, right?
No, and in fact, the Russians have been at the forefront with these types of technologies and weaponry for quite some time. And Putin did say, he gave an interview in the Politico. He said, "This is the first superpower to master psychotronic weapons. Will be the superpower to rule the world." What we are seeing before our very eyes, and I never expected this, is that we are in a new paradigm shift. We are at war. We are at war to master the human neurology, physiology, biology, in every aspect, and we're there.
Well, in the last week, there's major outages, both for AT&T and Verizon. Verizon alone had about 15 million customers in major cities, Minneapolis, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., that they couldn't access anything on their phone, couldn't make phone calls, and while there were other networks were completely fine. So again, not weather-based, but certainly it appeared to be very very targeted. But you think about this, every single one of us relies so heavily on these cell phones. They're obviously damaging us. It's not good to have these things around. We ponder these things, but we also are men of action. And certainly we don't sit around twiddling our thumbs waiting for someone else to come up with solutions for us. Of course, Jesse, you're raising awareness and doing your own things behind the scenes that very, very excited one day to talk about it. But Matthew, you too. You have created something. What brought us all here to England was not the tea, or it's been pretty good weather. Today was sunny.
Blue sky.
Blue sky, yeah. It's a little blue sky. What brought us here was that Masterpiece has been conducting a series of studies here in the St. Albans area. And specifically, you appear to have found what could be a very effective means of combating some of this technology.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about?
Yeah, and there is a very dangerous war going on. It's a very dangerous race to who can get to this AI level of weaponry and control, and so much of it is predicated upon, and I think we see it, the symptomology for the individuals is in what we would call the Havana Syndrome. And this is now completely approved by government. It's been talked about openly. So we're way past the point of there being any refuting what people are unfortunately dealing with, civilians and military. And it is complete control and complete harassment of the human being where they have no control. And so what we know is that this has a lot to do with being graphene-based, but even the parts that are not graphene-based are also positively charged oxides, metals, even microplastics, like we're talking about silicon-based electronic circuitries, those also have positive charges. So when we're looking at this weapon that's being deployed against us, the commonality that it has is that it has a positive magnetic charge. And so when we're talking about the current study and the way that we're trying to see if we can get remediation or reduction in the Havana Syndrome symptoms for individuals, is how do we get these positively charged substances out of the body to the extent where we're not as able to feel these charge, be attacked electromagnetically and through different frequency waves. And what we found through previous studies, when we were the first and only company to actually study graphene oxide levels before and after Masterpiece, is that we could see a reduction of about 70% from the study participants over the course of the 90 days. And again, we're not talking claims right now. Claims are what you make when you don't have any proof to back it up, right? We're talking about facts of completed, proper chain of custody, clinical studies, that the information was put together in a way that we could be able to put it into a double-blinded, peer-reviewed article. And just for instance, we all know COVID, what it was. And if it was so easy to get around the double-blinded, peer-reviewed process, you would see every big pharma company being able to say that their jab was healthy. But they can't, because you can't, the double-blinded period, it's rock solid. So we knew we could get the graphene oxide out irrefutably, and anything that was positively charged, which is this internal biosystem.
You're talking about, again, everyone has been taking the zeolite.
Zeolite Z, yeah.
And you're seeing an impact where it's actually reducing, it's cleansing out a lot of this technology that's in people.
Yeah. You know, the problem with these positively charged harmful chemicals is that they magnetically stick in the same place that a positively charged mineral should be in the body, which is really important to the functionality of the body. And so just taking like a zeolite or just reducing a zeolite down to a super small size, we'll go in there and grab a toxin out, but then we have other toxins in our body that are going to push right back in. And the difference is, and what makes Masterpiece completely unique and a game changer totally is that it is minerals that are coated on the zeolite. So the zeolite is a carrier. It's a delivery system. So it's a natural mineral, it's inert, and it's coated with minerals, goes into and it's thousands and thousands of times smaller than a regular blood cell. So it gets way into the central nervous system areas and so forth, carrying in the minerals so that the toxin will bind to the zeolite, and the minerals will displace and release into where the toxin was, and then the zeolite carries out the toxin, because zeolite, although it's a safe inert mineral, it's indigestible, it's unmetabolizable to the body. So the body doesn't know what to do with it, and you excrete it through respiration, perspiration, urination, defecation, if you're a woman, menstruation. And so the study that we wanted to do, and Jesse Beltran is well established as the leading expert in Havana Syndrome in terms of testing, providing people the help. He spent 15 years certified in technical surveillance countermeasures. He goes so far over my head when he tries to show me different. He's just wasting his time almost. And so, you know, he understands, and he's been face to face with several thousand people who are dealing with extreme symptomologies of Havana Syndrome. So we know that different people experiencing this problem, and Jesse will be better to speak on how they are. Everybody's kind of got this now in their systems. Some are turned on, most are turned off, but all are locked and loaded, let's say. And to be able to get out this hardware internal system with Masterpiece Zeolite Z is a game changer. I would recommend anybody. The testimonials, they're great. People speaking about a 50 to 80% reduction in their symptoms is wonderful, but that's just icing on the. That's qualitative. That's anecdotal. That's subjective. That wouldn't be something that is what you could call science by itself. And what we wanted to do is have that meet the science. And so we just finished a study. It's quite mind blowing to digest what this means for humanity.
No, it could be a solution. You know, a lot of people have jumped to that, and they've been claiming that for quite some time. But truly, this appears to be working for the people that are in the study. And I mean, everyone here is taking it. You know, I've been taking it. I might even get my bloody wife to take it. She is very, very skeptical, but she has been very impressed with what she's seen. And again, this is something of, it's a positive. Because all you hear are about the advancements and the goals and the plots and schemes of the enemy, right? And they have plenty of them, all right? They want to completely enslave us, and they want to bring the Matrix into reality. But far worse, you're not going to enjoy any part of it. And there is no secret underground, human base to run off to, like in the Matrix. No, we're all going to be in this hell together. But Jesse, this Havana Syndrome, there are plenty of government victims they've identified. And certainly not every case is the same, especially in the community, which you've become a great spokesman for. No one's the same. But it appears that civilians, especially in America, and we've even met some here in the United Kingdom, they're still being treated as if there's no proof to what's happening to them.
You're absolutely right. The reason I know about the federal cases is I've had the head doctor, or former head doctor of the CIA, call me and said that I was absolutely correct that the 338 federal employees and family members he's treating for Havana Syndrome have significant overlap. And what he was talking about is the symptoms between his patients and our clients. If you overlap them, they're the same. He said the only difference is, and this is older technology, is that we were having cases where there were surgical removal of these very, very tiny biosensors that were controlled by RF. Now, post-jab, we know that the studies are showing that there is this nanolipid technology that's in them. And Dr. Ido Bachelet, who gave a talk in 2013, TEDMED talk to be exact, in Israel, said in front of the audience, I just brought this syringe from my lab, and in this syringe are 1,000 billion robots. So basically 1 trillion robots in one syringe, 1 cc syringe. This is the amount that you were given in the vaccine, okay? And he tells everyone that they're self-assembling, self-replicating, they can cross the blood-brain barrier, and he teaches the students how to control them, not only with RF, but an Xbox controller once they're inside of a host. Okay, that's one thing. What has happened here over this last decade is the health system has been weaponized, and it has basically infiltrated almost every living human being. Prior to COVID, and for those who are out there who don't understand what I do, I have been doing RF testing and frequency detection on individuals who were symptomatic. Not everyone came up positive. In fact, most people in the general population who weren't symptomatic, in fact all, never came up positive. Now, what is happening post-COVID is that there's a significant uptick in the amount of individuals who are complaining about the same symptoms as those who are experiencing what is now called AHIs, anomalous health incidents. It's transition from the Havana Syndrome to this. This is the acronym that is now being used. So now what we're seeing is that you still have these symptomatic groups, but in the general population, they are now testing positive in all the same areas that the symptomatic people come up positive in. And that's why we're here. And quite frankly, I was shocked. I was here a couple of months ago when we did baseline readings on the test subjects, and we documented all that. And the type of device will give you a percentage of silicon-based indicators that we find. And so what we did is we took an average of all of those locations and added that up. And when I came back, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't expect a significant change, but for the first time in 20 years, I can tell you that I was blown away. It was actually quite emotional because not only did we see a significant decrease in that numerical number, let's say someone was at a 1,500, reductions down to like 350. Not only did we see that percentage decrease, for the first time ever, I saw the areas disappear.
Wow.
That there were, normally we should be coming up positive. So that is huge.
Well, and I've watched, do at least 20 of these scans, and I hear you say it's silicone-based. People have asked this, and I should ask this now. What do you mean when you say that?
So what we use is a very specific, one of the newest nonlinear junction detectors.
The agenda.
It's time to talk about real money. That's right, gold and silver. Analysts have been making big predictions for 2026. They see gold hitting $5,000 an ounce. They see silver hitting $100 per ounce. Don't wait until you see these prices in the headlines. Take action today. All you have to do is call the best gold and silver company in the business, Goldco. They are the #1 rated precious metals company for a reason. Top-notch customer service and over 8,000 5-star reviews. Thousands of patriotic Americans have trusted them to help diversify and protect their retirement savings, and you can too. Right now, Goldco is offering a free 2026 gold and silver kit, plus a limited time offer where you could get a 10% instant match in bonus gold or silver just for getting started. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Visit stolenliberties.com to learn more. That's stolenliberties.com.
So this is a nonlinear junction detector. And this is specifically made out of here in the UK. And it's highly sensitive.
It's a very fancy piece of equipment. Very expensive too.
Yeah, this one's about 20 grand right in there. And it's highly sensitive. And what...
It's my cell phone, basically.
Yeah, we'll use a cell phone. And for this, what this will do...
Maybe show your microphone so they can actually see it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'll pick it up. I got a boom mic.
Yeah. So this is a boom mic.
Oh, that's the Rode, yeah. That's
the Rode. And what you'll see there is that when it hits any type of electronic circuitry, whether it's on or off, it'll give us an indicator that it exists. And you see there it says 100% probability silicon. Not to get confused with silicone, but it's silicon.
Silicon.
Yeah, silicon. And silicon's in all electronic circuitry.
I see.
And this is highly sensitive. And after we do initial RF detection and we map those out on a human person, then we follow up with the nonlinear junction detection. And everywhere that they light up with the preliminary RF detection, we are detecting silicon hits with the nonlinear junction. And so that probably helps the audience understand what we were doing in the study. So when we came back this next time as the follow-up, what we were finding is those locations were disappearing. And that's why I said this is more significant than anyone out there could realize, because the victims that I deal with have been being tortured 365 days, 24/7. And in fact, because the US government currently does not acknowledge that it is happening to civilians, and I've been covering this since 2010, although they say it started in 2016, it's BS. Okay? The bottom line is that it is there. And there are no resources for the civilian population right now. And I get contacted every day from people all over this planet. And so that's why I'm really proud, Matt, that me as an outsider of your organization, that you guys looked at our process, understood our process, and allowed me to at least come here and assist. Because when I go back to the United States and I share what we've experienced over this weekend, it's a game changer.
We're giving everyone hope.
Yeah.
100%. It took me meeting people that are targeted for it really to click. And look, there are people that are our friends that are being tortured. They're being tortured. They can't sleep. They can't have normal relationships. That they're constantly doubting whether they're going to be able to even carry out their job, carry out their work. And look, entire futures are being wrecked. And the question has always been, for what, right? And I think maybe you've confirmed this. You've been able to at least find that there are some sympathetic elements inside of the military, inside of the government, that they want to track this and they want to answer some of these questions. And again, they want it to stop. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. Not only do I deal with the civilian population, I have people in intelligence, both military and other aspects of intelligence, who come to me and ask for my expertise and advice in guiding them on how they should navigate this issue. And they themselves are experiencing the same thing that the victims when they start taking the zeolite product. And it is, like I said, it's hope for the first time in 20 years. But that hope isn't enough. What we need is for those in positions of power to acknowledge that this is happening to civilians. And we have documented, diagnosed cases of civilians with Havana Syndrome currently, okay? So this misdirection or this concept that it doesn't affect civilian populations, only federal and government employees, is bullshit. Hopefully I can say that.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so...
Because it is
okay.
bull crap. It is bull crap. Because ultimately, there appeared to have been like a limited hangout was created by previous administrations that this is just a state level actor, a country like China or the Russians or someone else who's attacking our embassy staff. And look, that already is terrible. Like those folks didn't sign up to be tortured and to be tested upon with microwave technology and such. But at a much wider degree, it's been happening to people for a long time. It's been happening to people well outside the embassies and outside strategic locations. It's been happening to regular people with dogs, with kids, people that have simple, regular jobs. And it appears, at least from an outsider looking at it, Jesse, that these people were picked at times just because they were normal. That no one would believe them if they said or cried or screamed about the torture they're experiencing. This is seen as crazy, right? It's easy to dismiss this for that, but it's not. It's very real. And again, the study has shown this device is picking up the silicon and the radio frequencies from people. There's no explanation for that.
And if someone is trained in the highest level expert at being able to pick up bugs in a room, things like that, this is the highest level equipment that they can use for that. And so when you're testing it on a human body, seeing the strength, the amount of the silicon based, and then we can move into the results. We're talking about 24 people. We're talking about all different walks. Some have had this type of lifestyle, this type of choice, maybe taking the vaccine or not. And what we've seen was from the beginning, and then for 2 months, only a 2-month period of time. Now, the normal dose that's on bottles is for 10 drops a day. And we wanted them to take 30 drops a day because we're underneath a 2-month window. And to experience a 74% reduction in the level, in adding up the total. And just for the record, 2 of the people, coincidentally the one that tested the least at the beginning, she recently has changed up her habits, all for the worse, entered into a relationship. She was a very committed person to her health, organic food, all this exercise and so forth, and didn't stay on the masterpiece quite as consistently towards the end because she got a new boyfriend. And the boyfriend got a flu vaccine and was terribly sick, and now they're having relations, and there's a discussion of transfection there. But the other lady...
What, are you against love, Matt?
No, I'm all for love. All for love. Love the one you're with. But the second lady actually got a COVID vaccine in the middle of the study.
That's true.
I mean, so if you take those 2 results out, we're looking at an 80% reduction, which actually coincides with the results when we're testing for aluminum levels, graphene oxide levels, microplastic levels, hydrogel levels, where we're seeing like a 70% reduction, only taking 10 drops for like 90 days. We have a lot more drops, but for a shorter period of time, and then we see an 80% reduction. So out of all the 6 completed studies we've done, which is all related to the components that is in this internal biosystem, we're seeing every single study come out basically the same.
And I'll be putting, you'll see these in the description. You're hearing this now. You want to check these studies out. You can read them and you can click on them to check them out yourself. Matt, this is ongoing though too, right? The hair testing that Masterpiece is if someone's listening to this and they want themselves to join this study, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go to masterpiece.health. You're going to go to, that's the website. You'll see where it says hair test. Anyone out there, if you haven't been on Masterpiece before, you can become your own study participant where you're literally going to take a sample of your hair, send it off to the best comprehensive hair test lab that's out there. Reason why I say that is because the gentleman that analyzes these is the longest running hair tissue mineral analysis practitioner in Europe, looking at charts every day for 15 years. As he's fine-tuned his craft, there's a lot of so-called experts in different fields out there, expert researchers, but they have no experience in their fields. He's been looking at charts every day for 15 years. He's also used all the different labs trying to see which one's the best. So out of like the 8-9 labs I believe that he's checked, this is the best one. And so you get that first initial baseline. Then you take Masterpiece 3 bottles, which is the same amount of bottles that the people in the study coincidentally took for Havana Syndrome. And then they're going to come back and take another hair test. And they're going to get to see how their body is releasing and purging out their stored aluminum metal levels, mercury, lead, arsenic, cadmium, and also the minerals that should be in your body. You get to see those levels now, how they're not coming out, and how they're balancing at the right rate. And who out there, when you're talking about testing a product, if a product or a company backing it was afraid, would they put that on their website?
True.
And if they were afraid, would they even go do studies to begin with?
Oh, for sure. And the only reason the CEO of the company didn't do the hair test is, well, it's kind of obvious. But
I'm the only one. I did not qualify.
But he would have.
I didn't qualify. Only because I took Masterpiece first.
That's true.
It had nothing to do.
He's taken so much of this. His levels are super low. Now, there's something, I hope it's going to be this year. I'm just going to speak it because I think it's going to be this year. On the other end of it too, Jesse, some people, they'll see this and they are sitting there saying, well, I want some more of that hope. All right, I want to be connected with people who are in the community, and I also want to keep getting updates on your investigation and your work. I say this year because I think we're going to end up doing some kind of show. I hope to set up a show for you because I'd like you to have that platform. But where can people find your work, stay in touch with what you're doing, and kind of get the updates as we go this year?
Yeah, if you think you might be having symptoms of anomalous health incidences, or you're just curious because you've had exposure to someone who's had the jab, or you've taken the jab yourself, or you've been exposed to some type of anesthetic or vaccine, and you want to see if you're coming up positive, you can contact us at mindnexuslive.com. That's mindnexuslive.com. And just put in an inquiry, get on our email list, and my staff is really great at getting back to you very quickly. So that's how you would do that.
It's awesome. Yeah, I can vouch for them. They're awesome people. Okay.
Is it just in the shot? When we tested for graphene oxide levels, some people had taken jabs, some people haven't. Not that they were symptomatic for Havana Syndrome, but again, people are turned off and are turned on. But the graphene oxide levels in our 27 people study total study group, the beginning levels were 345 on the test, and the chart cut off at 600. So it was halfway of what the the tester could even test. And we're talking about intracellular levels, which means inside the cell, which means so small. We're talking about nano-sized levels of graphene oxide. So, I mean, in your ultimate wisdom on this, where is it coming from? Where do we think it possibly could be coming from, all this? Is it all directions?
If you're talking about frequency related to this phenomenon, it's a network. We now know it's satellite-based, it's ground-based, it's even Wi-Fi base. And so it's a complete network. And the reason this graphene was put inside you is because, and these lipid nanoparticles, is because they want you, and it's been instituted, so it's been done without your consent, to be a node. So every walking human being would be a node. And when they turn on 6G, my sources are telling me, and those of you who are not having the symptoms and may think that this is not going to affect you or your children, you have another thing coming. No one is immune to this. Eventually, the plan is that each and every one in the system will be turned on. There are patents from AT&T, Wells Fargo, Qualcomm, all related to these nanoparticles, smart dust, remote biological systems where they can monitor you, they say for your health, nonstop, 365 days a year, 24/7. And if the technology exists where your cognitive liberty is no longer allowed to be free, then are you human anymore? Is the human experience gone? Homo Borg Genesis is a new term for everyone who has this in them. So right now it's important that everyone stands up and wakes up.
Amen. And of course you'll see both these men in our upcoming film, Died Suddenly 2, Nanosapiens. Here's the trailer for that, if you haven't seen it already.
Way back in 1778, the Continental Congress unanimously passed America's first whistleblower law.
I did this clearly at my own jeopardy.
It recognized the duty to give the earliest information to Congress of any misconduct, frauds, or misdemeanors committed by anyone working for government.
The information I'm presenting is made as a protected communication under Title 10 USC 1034 as a whistleblower.
246 years later, whistleblowers have an incredible record of changing the course of history.
Critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize.
Upload complete.
Total biometric surveillance.
It's always the data. It's the crack cocaine of Silicon Valley. We are already living inside the architecture of totalitarianism.
We need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin.
I know my husband is not vaccinating people and putting a microchip in their arm because that technology doesn't even exist and he's never uttered the words out of his mouth, so.
Microchips and tracking devices are embedded in the vaccine. Is this accurate?
We have 6 MAC addresses that are pulsing Bluetooth signals, and all we are is surrounded by tombstones.
So can someone explain to me why we're getting EMF emissions off a grave inside of a Faraday cage, please?
So we've seen the reports of individuals having unlicensed.
It's kind of weird that we haven't done one of these episodes yet. Actually, I was like, you mentioned this. I really have enjoyed getting to know both of you, and it's been a very roller coaster for the last 6 months. I'll tell you that. But I think again, we have a certain protection over us. I'm not talking about a government even. You know, I do feel that we were born for a time like this. We were born to fight these people that are torturing our friends, our family, and the wonderful strangers and the people around the world that are under attack here with this technology. And again, I do feel that it has to be this year. As of what you said about 6G, the World Economic Forum, they were talking about chemtrailing, they were talking about dialogue, but they're also were talking about advancing telecommunications infrastructure. And no longer is it about the age of development. They just want now to put the towers up. They just want to put the satellites in air. Like the biggest story this year that I've seen on this, Jesse, is China. They're applying for, I think it's going to be 10 times the amount of low Earth orbiting satellites that Elon Musk even has in the air. Look, Elon Musk was able to deploy internet over the entire country of Iran with his network. We're talking about something far more dire than that. We're talking about this matrix of control that can be finally unveiled on the world and really unraveled on society. And who's going to control it? Will it be the United States? Will it be China? I'll tell you, in both situations, we lose. So shutting it down and really combating it, this is our year to do it. But again, solution-based thinking, we have found, at least with Masterpiece, that is reducing the ability for these devices, this technology, the silicon, to be activated, which is a huge victory.
Yeah, it's significant, but ultimately, we want to get it down to 100% deactivation. Masterpiece is part of that solution, and we have some patriots out there who want to preserve the human experience and the human species, and we're working on alternative solutions that can be used synergistically with Masterpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. And the time is now. The time is now. We've seen a different air at the World Economic Forum this year. We've seen the leaders that are at the face of ushering in this AI and so forth. The realization is even upon them. So, when you're talking about, everyone in Silicon Valley, Klaus Schwab, all of them, they're like, hold on for a second. When this thing's ushered in, I'm not relevant anymore. I'm not needed anymore. I'm controlled now too. And then at what point has the baby become the beast, and humanity in its experience and our experience of free will and our connection to each other and to love is gone? Then what? Are we going to get it back? I say, before the problem gets any worse, let's all realize that we're biting off way more than we could, especially if you're a leader, especially if you're someone that if the end game has always been, and you're in this race, you guys are in a race to take yourselves out at this point along with everybody else when this thing gets much more stronger. So
it's very wisely stated. You've been proposing this paradigm that they're under while we've been spending time here in the United Kingdom, and it's that the elite aren't immune from it. And it does appear that the elite are eating each other. They're on their own competition. Evil's fighting evil, and they're all trying to be the kingpin Satan on top. But in actuality, each country, each world bloc leader, each cartel leader, we can call these banking cartels as such, they're all trying to do their own version of the very controls and systems which have been postulated. Again, when it comes to banking, money, we've seen a major shift in the last, let's say the last even 10 years. 20 years for sure. The last 20 years, you still had massive cash usage, right? In the United States, now they say 97% of the currency is in digital format. And a good portion of that's in cryptocurrency, okay? It's the paradigm that we're going to grow old in, hopefully in victory, is that this world will continue to change and advance, and individuals with technology and access to resources will only become more powerful. But I at least for me, I pray that the Lord will continue empowering people like us to fight back with truth, fight back with courage, and again, to fight back with love. Because the hope aspect is arguably one of the most powerful. Because what good is it if we beat these people if half our side has killed themselves in the process? Right?
They've ate their tail, yeah.
Right? Because we actually care about our people, but the elite, maybe they're starting to care about each other to a degree now. Maybe they're selfish. I don't know.
Maybe they should care about just their self-preservation. Yeah. If you're that selfish, care about yourself.
Well, this has been a pleasure. We're going to be heading back into the front tundra, but of course, it has been a great pleasure to sit down with both of you and speak to you on the agenda. So we'll have to do this again next time we go to Tahiti or Thailand or somewhere else where Jesse drags us. Okay. But of course, it's been with Matthew Hazen of Masterpiece and Jesse Beltran of MindNexus. God bless you and take care.
Thank you for being part of The Agenda.